Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Tavern. I am your innkeeper, Vase Odin. We are continuing the Battlesmith guide, and this is video 2 for the infusions. So if you're interested in learning about the infusions you get at level 6, stay tuned. So level 6 brings a bunch of new infusions that you're able to create, and we're going to go over those right here and now. Let's not waste any time and get started. So the Boots of the Winding Path. This is an interesting teleport item. You can teleport up to 15 feet as a bonus action. You have to have traveled through the location you teleport to sometime during the same turn in order to be able to teleport there. That's kind of a big limitation, to be honest. There are some cool uses for it. You can move, attack, and then teleport back to where you started without taking an opportunity attack. You know, this is okay if your enemy is engaged with someone else, but if they can just move towards you on their turn, I don't see how this is extremely useful. Yeah, I'm sure there's other uses for it. I just can't think of a way to make that work where you have to have traveled through the path. Maybe at higher levels, there's other shenanigans you can do with spells and such, but you know, overall, having to have moved through that location to then be able to teleport back doesn't seem as useful. And you can only do it 15 feet. So either way, most enemies are still going to be able to get to you. One cool use that I can see with this is Booming Blade. So if somehow you're able to get Booming Blade, move in, attack with Booming Blade, then teleport, and now you're forcing the enemy to make a decision whether they stay there and not get to attack you, or they move and take a hit from the Booming Blade. So that's pretty cool. But the Artíficer does not get Booming Blade, so you'd have to multi-class to be able to make uses of this. Or you can make these boots and give it to someone who does get Booming Blade, and then they can take advantage of that kind of strategy. It could be okay. I don't know. I think I'd have to try this in practice to know for sure if these are as good as, or good or not. Now, the next one, the Homunculus Servant. Now, that is a really good item that you get at level 6. I would probably use this infusion almost 100% of the time. I don't see why anyone would not use the Homunculus, because it's probably one of the best infusions that you get as an Artificer. Basically, it's a slightly more resilient familiar. You can cast touch spells through it like you can with a familiar, but it can't use a magic item for you like a familiar can. That means that it can't deliver potions or good berries like a familiar. But if you're building your Battlesmith to heal, you can use your Homunculus to deliver cure wound spells to injured party members and that kind of stuff. Plus, it's really resilient, so that's really awesome, because a familiar generally can die in one hit. The other thing that this Homunculus can do is it can attack, which a familiar can't do, but it doesn't hit that hard at all, so I'd be hesitant to use this ability. It basically follows the same rules as your Steel Defender in terms of actions during combat. It goes on your turn, but only after you've gone. It can take the dodge action without using any of your actions. That's pretty cool. And it can take a reaction without using any of your actions, which is also pretty cool. Whereas a familiar has its own initiative and goes on its own turn, which can be both a benefit and a detriment. And in most times I've seen it's a detriment when the familiar goes on a different initiative. Having the Homunculus go immediately after you, there are times where you might have wanted it to go before you, but for the most part, it's very helpful and useful that it goes on your turn. I think if you're not building your character for support or healing, the best use for the Homunculus Servant is to use your bonus action and command it to use the help action. I do wish it had a little bit more utility, but if your Battlesmith is focusing on healing, I probably would put this at the top, very top of my infusions list. But even if you're not focusing on healing, it's pretty high up there. The Radiant Weapon. This one is kind of a boosted version of the Magic Weapon infusion. If you're using a melee weapon or the infusion to turn a melee weapon magical, I would recommend changing that for this one. Or, I guess you could have both. It's better than the other one. It provides a nice debuff as a defensive feature. If a creature hits you, you can Actually blind it for a round, which is really cool. Plus, you can shed light with the weapon, so it's got a bunch of extra uses. I probably wouldn't use this to replace the magical infusion on a thrown weapon or a ranged weapon, because you'll lose the repeating shot that you could have on it instead, or the returning weapon feature, so keep that in mind. The repulsion shield, if you've infused a shield with the enhanced defense infusion, I'd probably upgrade it to this one. You get the same benefit, but you can use a charge to move a creature that hits you. And being able to move a creature 15 feet without a save is really handy. Resistant armor. If you infuse an armor with the enhanced defense infusion, I'd upgrade it to this one. It's the same as that infusion, but you get resistance to a damage type. You only get to pick one damage type to be resistant to, which, you know, may never come up, or it may not come up as often as another damage type, but getting resistance is still pretty nice regardless, so it's very nice to have no matter what. Now at level 6 you also get some new items that you can replicate with the replicate item infusion, so let's go over those and see which ones are better than others. The Boots of Elvenkind, these are nice to have if you're not a stealthy character, since they give you advantage on stealth checks to move silently. Not sure how often you're going to be using this, though. I'd say it's good to give to a rogue, but they're already good at stealth. I mean, I guess you can make them even better at stealth, but come on. Maybe a little overkill, I think. So I think I'd probably pass on it. Cloak of Elvenkind, generally better than the boots in function, since they also grant disadvantage on perception checks against your stealth hide check. But I still think I'd pass, especially since these take up an attunement slot. The Cloak of the Manta Ray. Assuming speed and breathing underwater can be useful, it's situational, just like any of the water and breathing water features. It's very campaign dependent. But if you're in a campaign where this could be handy, then it's extremely useful. So, you know, I would just weigh those options. The Eyes of Charming. You're using an attunement slot and an infusion to be able to cast Charm Person, a first level spell that's pretty bad. Probably skip this one. It's a trap! Gloves of Thievery. If you want to be an overachiever, take this. But since you now have expertise in Thieves' Tools, do you really need this? Probably not. I'd probably pass on it. Again, unless someone else in your party really needs it. The Lantern of Revealing basically sheds light and reveals invisible creatures. Handy if you're facing invisible creatures, but in my experience, it's mostly the heroes that are going to be invisible. If you're using this, you're going to be hurting your party more than helping. So I'd probably pass. Pipes of Haunting, a 30-foot radius fear effect that doesn't use concentration and doesn't affect your friends. This is like one of the best items that you can create your infusions at level 6. The only drawback is that you have to be proficient in the instrument to be able to use it. But man, I would find a way to be proficient in the bagpipes in order to be able to get this item, because it is that good. Ring of Water Walking, you can walk on liquids. The Cloak of the Manta Ray is probably a better option overall if you were considering this. There are very few times where this is going to be better. The Wand Sheath. If you're a Warforged or have a Warforged in the party, and you have a wand that you want them to use, and you or they want your hands free when using the wand, and you can spare an attunement slot, then this is exactly the item that you want. But since having all of those requirements feels like worse odds than taking a shot in the dark, I'd probably skip this one. So that does it for the Artíficer Battlesmith infusions for level 6. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. If you hate me, put that in the comments, and I'll be sure to comment back. And check out all the other videos for the Artíficer Battlesmith. We have an entire series just dedicated to the Battlesmith optimization, and you can check out all those videos in the playlist within the channel. So, thank you very much for watching. This is your Innkeeper Vase Odin. I'll talk to you guys real soon.